We've had a lot of iron in our veins, a lot of iron in our headlines, Iron Man in Chattanooga. And there's iron of a different kind, the kind that we breathe. Maybe iron is not the right word, but there is a metal content in the air that we breathe. And all the athletes, the thousands who came here over the past several days, have been breathing it. And the iron, or the metal content, is aluminum. It is heavily in the air. It is in trace amounts in every one of the county's readers. There are about 7 or 8 posts around Hamilton County that measure air pollution, and they measure even pollutants that are not official pollutants, pollutants that are not deemed to be dangerous, which are sort of given a pass by the good people in Congress and in the Environmental Protection Agency. And that is aluminum. Aluminum is ubiquitous. It's in the cans of your pop. It is in the wrap around your sandwich. You'll find it in containers of all kinds. And it is in the air we breathe, thanks to stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, of which we had a sample yesterday, the 27th, also on the 24th, the 21st, the 20th, and on the 19th, the 16th, the 15th, the 14th of this month. And then there was a gap in the treatments that we were able to enjoy down to the 5th of September. And then the last day of the prior month, August, and the first 2 days of September, the 1st and the 2nd, a Tuesday and a Wednesday also, we were given the treatment. And you say, well, how can that be? What is going on here? Well, we are well ahead of the rhetoric in the management of the weather and in, I should say, the fight against global warming. Now, the fight against global warming is not really a fight against global warming. It is, according to a scientist, Marvin Herndon, it is a fight that is actually making the problem worse. And we have to ask ourselves, well, how is it that a government intervention to save the world, to save the planet, and humankind from extinction from heat and rising sea levels, how is that making things worse? Well, ask yourself about government intervention at any point. Government intervention in any marketplace almost always creates distortions and feedback mechanisms which are unintended, but which create secondary, tertiary marketplaces. This intervention creates all kinds of special favors, special pleadings. And entrepreneurs, they're called crony capitalists, who swoop in to provide a new service, right? Provide a new service in the area where government has said, we have to be here and we have to own the whole thing. Think of the student loan market, which is now entirely owned by the national government as a favor to the lending sector, the fractional reserve money sector. Think of mortgages. We have agencies which are monopolists in the mortgage creation field and put the government on the hook for mortgages and have one control over this gigantic sector, feeding vast industries of paper pushers and loan transfers and others. And in the medical field, well, you can go on and on. And we here in Chattanooga are the pretended beneficiaries of just one such intervention, and it's in the air that we breathe. Now, there's a paper that's come out amid great controversy. It was published. It was received by the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health back June 29. It was accepted after a peer review on August the 5th and published on the 11th of August. And not long after, when the implications of this study about coal ash were more widely known, the paper was retracted. And I have here in my hands, formerly stained with printer's ink from my many years as an editor at the Chattanooga Time Free Press, I'm holding a copy of the retracted paper. And you can get the copy of this paper without the retracted written across the pages. And read it for yourself. But it makes a very remarkable summary of the air that we're breathing. It's based on a study by Professor Herndon, who works for TransDigm Corporation in San Diego. And he had done a study of the air and water in a part of the country that has no real heavy industry, that part of California, and is known for its dry air, very dry air, making the sky over San Diego not susceptible to condensation trails, or they're also called contrails. And so the heavy treatment of jet traffic over San Diego brought this scientist to ask himself, what am I seeing? What is going on here? And what came from his effort is a peer-reviewed paper that, with many irregularities, was retracted by the editors of this publication. The editor that is in charge of that, his name is Paul Chun-Woo, perhaps a Chinese immigrant or a descendant of Chinese immigrants in that part of the world. My name is David Tulis, and our show is Nooganomics.com. We are covering local economy and the free market, and following along a major story that we here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio have given considerable attention to, starting with my work at Nooganomics.com. And it was March of 2014 in which I wrote my first study about this, when I realized that a freak snowstorm, I think at the very end of March or April of that year, was brought about by geoengineering activities of innumerable tattoo tracing jets in the sky the day before. And when I realized what I had seen, and I had taken quite a few photographs of several days of this activity, and followed in one instance by a freak snowstorm in downtown Chattanooga in March, I said, well, we have here a kind of smoking gun, something I'd thought about for a while and had made note of as an editor and a journalist, and even photographed in years past immense trafficking in white plume over Chattanooga. Is that white plume just water condensation? Well, a contrail, which is what water condensation is. A contrail is an innocuous thing in which the heat from the engine, the very hot engines of a jet, have coursing through the cylinders, very cold and damp air, and spitting out the back of the jet are ice crystals, and they don't last very long. And a contrail generally is quite a short thing, but a trail laid for other purposes is a marvel to behold. And I have looked at many of them and written stories about this phenomenon, done my share of reading in the scientific literature. And you'll find out more about geoengineering and it's called stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, or SAG, at my website, which is Nooganomics.com. We are brought to you by the people who always give you double in pizza, and that's Raphael's Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant. You can buy two pizzas for the price of one at any of the three Raphael's restaurants, one in Hickson by Highland Plaza, one in Saudi Daisy right next to the Saudi Church of God, and then on Signal Highway on the main drag there, Taft Highway. Buy one and get one free, open every day. Terrific Italian food here in Hamilton County. Make sure that you patronize our favorite Italian restaurant. That's Raphael's. And I'm glad that you're giving me a couple of minutes of your time. I hope you had a good weekend. We'll be giving out some numbers at 11:30 this morning. The numbers are from our tune-in cards. I gave out maybe 30 or 40 of those on Saturday amid the rain at Hamilton County Fair, meeting people who I hope might join you, my listener, as a listener of our show and of our station. We are AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and the numbers we're going to be calling out are for gewgaws, doodads, and gifts. And the best is a surgery. we have some gift cards for Dr. David Ridd at Quick Surge on the North Shore. Those are valuable, very valuable cards. And if you get that card from us, you can have that mole or tag removed, or that blight removed on your face, or maybe a son's face or daughter's face, or other body part, and all with local anesthesia, all at no charge to you. So do tune in at 11:30 here at AM 1240 during the Mr. Judd show, and we'll be reading out some numbers for that, and also Jets pizza coupons and some jewelry from Chrissy Essex, who was one of the fine vendors this past weekend and Sunday at the Howland County Fair. My name is David Tulis, and the study that I want to look at is really remarkable, and it's remarkable for what Dr. Herndon, who's he's in his early 70s, has been writing academic papers all of his life. The kind of things he makes note of, and in a nutshell, he gives evidence that the toxic coal combustion fly ash, okay, this is the waste from coal burning, is the most likely aerosolized particulate sprayed by tanker jets for geoengineering, weather modification, and climate modification purposes. And there's several kinds of ash that come out of the burning of coal. My dad, Bob Tulis, worked for TVA. He was involved in air pollution control reduction. He worked on the wet scrubber systems at the Shawnee Steam Plant in Paducah, which was kind of the Siberia of TVA, and that was much of his later career was involving himself in collecting fly ash through the limestone scrubbers and other means. And fly ash is really ideal. Now, fly ash has in it, according to Dr. Herndon, the essential elements of what we breathe here: aluminum, strontium, and barium. These are remarkable elements, and they are part of waste products. So we have a great deal of thought given in the past week about Volkswagen and the nitrogen oxide emissions that are illicit, right? And when we think about this larger story and put that story in the context of the official pollution story that we are pursuing here, we just have to kind of laugh and say that the uproar, the lawsuits now being filed in Chattanooga and elsewhere against Volkswagen by aggrieved motor car owners, they are just a kind of a wonderful charade that when you read the news, you just have to just enjoy news coverage for what it is, and all the self-seriousness of all the people writing that news and thinking it is great value. Dr. Herndon says he points out in his in a very, very fine introduction of this study, which was retracted by the editor, right? Retracted by the editor for various irregular reasons. That geoengineering has a long history. In other words, changing the weather by injecting materials into the sky at higher altitude or lower altitude is not a new thing. And he says recently there have been calls in both the popular and scientific press to begin discussions about the possibility of engaging in future stratospheric geoengineering experiments to counter global warming. And he has some citations. Geoengineering, also called weather modification, has been carried out for decades at a much lower altitude in the troposphere. Now, that is to say the lower levels. The stratosphere is 40,000 feet, where the jet traffic, when they've already taken off, they're on their long-term flight patterns. That's the stratosphere. That's about 40,000. The toposphere is lower, or troposphere rather, is lower. And he says that judging by the weather modification activity over San Diego, that's the atmosphere where this ash is deposited. Now, you ask, well, is black ash is coal? How is it white? Well, I didn't read that explanation. I don't know if it's in this paper. He says the recent calls for open discussion of climate control or geoengineering tend to obscure the fact that the world's military and civilian sectors have modified atmospheric conditions for many decades, as has been described by science historian James Fleming. Some of the early weather modification research resulted in programs such as Project Skywater in 1961 to 88, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation's effort to engineer the rivers in the sky, also the Army's Operation Ranch Hand in the 60s and 70s, in which the Agent Orange was an infamous part, and also it's Project Popeye, which was used to make mud, not war, in North Vietnam in the 1960s, over the Ho Chi Minh Trail, preventing munitions supplying of the ARVN in that undeclared, yet another undeclared federal war. These few examples of weather modification, all of them secret at the time they were engaged in, show that the weather is, in the words of the military, a force multiplier. And that's what's happening here. Now, why is it hard to find out about this? Why is my open records request still pending to find out about two major sky stripe days in October of 2014? It may take a year to find out exactly which of those flights were military flights or military contractor flights, if I can find out at all. I've gotten part of the open records request data, a mind-boggling pages and hundreds of pages of coordinates of jet traffic, and with which I do not know what to do. Right? That's how they deal with me, is just to give me information in such form that it's beyond my power, my computing power, my comprehensive power to even know how to look at this data. But Dr. Herndon says his history with this topic started in 2014, just last year. He says, in the spring, the author began to notice tanker jets quite often producing white trails across the cloudless blue sky over San Diego. The aerosol spraying that was happening with increasing frequency was a relatively new phenomenon there. The dry, warm air above San Diego is not conducive, he says, to the formation of jet contrails. By November of 2014, not long ago, the tanker jets were busy every day crisscrossing the sky, spraying their aerial graffiti. In a matter of minutes, the aerosol trails exiting the tanker jets would start to diffuse, eventually forming cirrus-like clouds that further diffuse to form a white haze that scattered sunlight, often occluding or dimming the sun. We have that here, of course, and I've made many photographs of it at Nooganomics.com. Aerosol spraying was occasionally so intense as to make the otherwise cloudless blue sky overcast, some areas of sky turning brownish. And here's a photograph. Sometimes the navigation lights of the tanker jets were visible as they worked at night, their trails obscuring the stars overhead. By dawn, the normally clear blue morning sky already had a milky white haze, he says. Regardless, aerosol spraying often continued throughout the day. The necessity for daily aerosol emplacement, now that's the term, emplacement, okay? Spraying is what us commoners call it, but emplacement is what I would, or insertion, I think is a word I've also read. Placement stems from the relatively low spraying altitudes in the troposphere, where mixing with air readily occurs, bringing down the aerosolized particles and exposing humanity and Earth's biota to the fine-grained substance. The author's concern about the daily exposure to ultrafine airborne particulate matter of undisclosed composition and its concomitant effect on the health of his family and public health in general prompted the research reported here. So that's how he started this study. Now, again, this is a study which you can read in full and I'll probably do you the favor and post it, make it available as a download from the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, which has been influenced by the trolls, and there are all kinds of trolls in government and in the corporate sector that want this whole analysis to remain part of conspiracy theory, right? Where you can't even think about it because someone says it's a conspiracy, and what he calls a pejorative moniker. Okay, Dr. Herndon says that idea, that term, is a pejorative moniker. But he did serious studies himself and found in the water that he studied that coal fly ash, comprising of micron and submicron particles, are the same. Studied directly and studied in the water is the same material. There's same elements in both of them. Well, this is David Tulis, and our show is Nooganomics.com. Well, it was my show. I guess we say it's sponsored by Nooganomics.com. We're brought to you by Superior Air Systems with the big orange vans, 5 big orange vans around Chattanooga. Call 886-6602 Superior Air Systems. Bill Keith is the owner, and he will satisfy all of your troubles. He'll make all your troubles go away, whether trying to cool or heat. That's Superior Air Systems. And if you need financial advice for traditional investments, make sure you contact Patrick Neal. Patrick Neal is the Edward Jones broker here in Hickson. His office is right next to the Target shopping center, and it's in a little plaza behind the Cutter Banking Company building on Highway 53. Edward Jones is the largest private brokerage, and you're not going to get a lot of churn with Patrick Neal. He will help you. He will understand his fiduciary duty to you to see that you prosper the most. And he's not going to churn your account to skim the fees off of it as many others are known to do. And again, the name is Patrick Neal. And at Edward Jones, call 870-7894. That's 870-7894. Make sure you mention that you are an occasional listener, at least here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and we will be glad to have you connect with Patrick. The name is David Tulis, and there's an event tomorrow evening at 7 at Brainerd Hills Presbyterian Church. It's about Samaritan Ministries, the medical alternative to insurance. And that is a group of which I'm a part. Find out more. It's 7 o'clock. To learn details, go to Nooganomics.com, the free market website for Chattanooga, Nooganomics.com, and read about the Samaritan option. This is David Tulis. Thanks for giving me a minute.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect mostly cloudy and warm weather for your Monday. A few showers possible out there. Highs near 80. Tonight, a few more scattered showers. Lows mid and upper 60s. A wet day for Tuesday with areas of rain. Highs staying into the 70s. A lingering shower possible through Wednesday as well. Just because summer is coming to a close doesn't mean your vacation has to end. Get a special retail gift card when you book on a Monday. Visit Hojo.com to find out how. That's Hojo.com, and happy Monday. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ford. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
That smells so good. Smells like a wow, the big Italian dinner. But you're going to walk out with two. Buy one hot pizza, get one for free. 2 pizzas. You get the two for the price of one at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. My favorite Italian restaurant of all the time. Now, I'm living in Hickson. I go to Raphael's right down the street in Hickson Pike, right near Highland Plaza. You're in Saudi Daisy? Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria in Saudi Daisy. Just next to Saudi Daisy Church of God. Hey, you're on Signal Mountain. There's a Raphael's Italian Restaurant and a Pizzeria. It's right on the main drag. You're going to love the pasta, the pizza. Buy one hot pizza, get one for free. 2 pizzas. You get the two for the price of one at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Tastes so good. Bring the whole family. Come on, Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Mangia. Salute.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducks. Call now.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pam Puso. They'll talk face-to-face for the first time in 10 months. President Obama and Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Both are in New York for the UN General Assembly.
As for what the two will discuss, the White House says it will focus on Ukraine. The Kremlin says Ukraine will be discussed only if time allows, instead focusing on Syria and the fight against ISIS.
Fox News Radio's Tanya J. Powers at the UN. Hedge fund managers may not like Donald Trump's tax plan. They would pay more. The middle class would pay less.
There will be a large segment of our country that will have a zero rate. A zero rate.
The Republican presidential hopeful on CBS's 60 Minutes. Volkswagen's former CEO is now the focus of German prosecutors. They're investigating the automaker's emissions rigging scandal. Audi now says its vehicles are affected. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
We are very prejudiced people here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. The prejudice that we offer as maybe an example, an example to you to copy, is that of local over national, that of the substantial over the ephemeral, the physical over the abstract, the personal over the corporate, the simple over the complex, the small, the prejudice of the small over the big. And maybe the biggie for anyone who wants to be Nooga-centric, right, who wants to have a Nooga-centric perspective, would be near over far. And somehow, if you're far away offering a solution, offering a remedy for a local problem or a problem that has a local manifestation, my inclination is to shudder and say, oh, here's someone out of Washington who's got a problem to solve for us, and here's some free money. You just have to sign up for the program, and everything will go away. Well, I think we should be prejudiced in favor of several things. And what that means, though, is initially what that means is that you have this unthinking dislike for something, okay, or unthinking favor for something else as opposed to the first item. Well, a prejudice, of course, is a negative. It is a negative perception. And what we want to do here at AM 1240 is to fill out the prejudice so that it's not just unthinking, but really that it is one that generates thought, that has substance, right? That has a content, and it's not just a reaction. So that we say, on principle, I think I'm going to shop at Harvest Grocery over Green Life, or at Harvest Grocery over the new Food City stores. I went into my first Food City store over the weekend, and it was very much like Bilo. I said, I don't recognize any of the faces here. Are some of you here Bilo former staffers? And one young man whom I vaguely recognized said, yes, I was here previously, and most of the others that you see were here before. And I didn't recognize the other faces. Well, partly because I don't shop at Bilo. I'm not a Bilo customer, so my visit there was incidental and sort of necessitous, not done by my internal will. And so because we have this this favor for local, we want to fill out the reasons for it, and they are positive reasons. They are where you live. You, my listener, live in local economy, right? And even though you may be just passing through Chattanooga in your town, if you happen to be driving in your truck cab, or you're running goods for someone, you're here. Your home is, of course, the same thing applies there, and all of what I'm saying, by the way, is not trademarked. Okay, there's no little R with a circle around it after my comments if they were printed, requiring you to give credit or something like that. No, everything I have is free. You can use it free, and in as much as it's original to me, have had it. And if it's something I've borrowed from somebody else, well, I think I've given credit before for phrases I've lifted from better writers and thinkers than myself, and they are there to be credited as well, or not. And national economy has things against it. Okay, there are many things against national economy, and one of them are national corporations. And guess who gets very spiteful treatment by national companies, national providers of consumer goods, for example, national providers of snack chips, for example. Well, you heard last week about the Frito-Lay offering its lug butt rainbow-colored Doritos, and with the proceeds going to support the It Gets Better, the nonprofit group founded by radical homosexual activist Dan Savage. Now, Dan Savage, of course, is an angry, I'd say he's hateful. I mean, I would actually say he is kind of a hateful person, and he's on the YouTube and in your face about making fun of you. You, my listener, you're not a Christian. I understand that. You're just a kind of a good conservative, humanitarian sort of person. But people like you are you're getting some of the shrapnel along the edge, that most of which is supposed to be absorbed by Christian people. And people who are church-going Christians who went to church yesterday and worshiped God, heard a sermon about him or his people or his doctrine, and now are on the workforce, on the job, prospering their families and hopefully their customers. The gay rights movement, according to a final summary at worldnetdaily.com, WND.com, tells about the top companies at war with religious people. And that you have to ask yourself, how is it that a minority, lug butts are 1% of the population or less, that is to say people who actually practice homosexual sex and have made a livelihood out of doing that and identifying themselves that way, maybe 1.5%. How is it that to appease them, ordinary people, common folks like you are not to be favored at all? Companies that earn the perfect 2015 Human Rights Campaign score on the Corporate Equality Index are very well-known national brands, and they include Chevron, Apple, the computer company, General Motors, the car manufacturer, General Electric, the conglomerate Ford, AT&T, Hewlett-Packard, United Health Group, and J.P. Morgan Chase, the bank. Human Rights Campaign recognizes business that achieve a 100% rating as best places to work for LGBT equality. Of course, that's LGBT is lug butt. I cannot use letters like that. My tongue is a little bit got a crimp in it, and it falls over itself whenever I try to say those letters. So I just say lug butt for short, lug butt, and welcomes companies to tout that distinction in their marketing efforts. At the same, I mentioned Frito-Lay. At the same time, GOP presidential candidate Mike Huckabee was challenging the Frito-Lay board of directors to watch Dan Savage in action and decide whether his lewd and offensive comments fit the company's corporate image. There's a professor, Paul Kenger, who's the author of a book called Takedown from Communists to Progressive, How the Left Has Sabotaged Family and Marriage, says that Frito-Lay fears no backlash from Christian people. Instead, it's fearing of offending the poofter world. He says, from a purely marketing standpoint, one would think that corporate America might be concerned about offending traditional Christians, but I don't think that's so. Christians aren't. Here's this describes the people of grace, right? Whose God has the show-stopping story. But I don't think that's so. He says Christians aren't relentless and brutal like the liberal forces of tolerance and diversity, who boycott, picket, protest, demonize, dehumanize, fine, and even incarcerate those who dare to disagree with their new definitions of marriage, family, and sexuality. So corporations are happy to outrage Christians. They won't dare outrage the forces of tolerance and diversity. And of course, the big poofter fans would include Google, whose mantra is to do no wrong, and Microsoft. And these outfits are saying essentially, if you want to do business with us, then you are going to have to change your policy toward gays and lesbians. Of course, gays and lesbians, that is a redundancy. But whoever said that good writing and thoughtful speech patterns belong to the shrill party that wants to undo capitalism as capitalism is intended to be. We're here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and my name is David Tulis, your host here for a couple hours. I'm at 9 o'clock every day. The number 5 show. I'm being pushed down, and I'm straining to get back up. I've got the young set clamoring for my place with their very fine shows. Leading the way is Russell, the kid who has Digital Drive at noon, talking about the tech sector. And I've encouraged Russell to follow his dreams on what he wants to talk about. But he's a very techie, savvy young man, and that's his show. And also, Sean Hannity is our number 2 talk show host. Could be Laura Ingraham, could be her. And but then after that, we've got Eric Judd, the convivialist, at 11 o'clock here at AM 1240. And then we have Keon Rose, and his show is called Clutch with Keon Rose. He's got a very fine view, very passionate views about sports, something about which I delegate entirely to him. And so in gratitude, I'm slipping back in the poll, okay, to be the number 5 host. And I do thank you for giving me a couple of minutes of your time here. If you want to eat out today, make sure you try Delia's Authentic Mexican Restaurant. She's open on Mondays, closed on the Lord's Day, but she has a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, enchiladas with beef, chicken, and pork. The she that I refer to could be Delia. That is a female name, but I'm really thinking of Maria Hernandez, a genuine Mexican who loves living here in this country with her children and family and running Delia's. The special today is the taco salad, and mention my name. And when you make that order, say, hey, I heard about you on the radio, and mention that, and you should get, unless the waiter or waitress is still half asleep getting there at the restaurant, you should get a free iced tea. Okay, just ask for the free iced tea. Say, hey, don't I get a free iced tea having mentioned the name David Tulis? So if you can remember that name, mention that name, or just if that's too much trouble, just mention the radio station. And if you have cell phone repairs that you need, make sure you contact Cell Surgeon. Keep that place in mind. It's open Sunday. Cell Surgeon at Northgate by Old Chicago Pizza, the new pizza joint there at the mall. 668-0100. That's Cell Surgeon, cell phone repairs in a jiffy. 668-0100. Local economy really beats national economy, and there are many, many reasons to favor it. And as I like to suggest, just having a kind of prejudice for it. My slogan is "Love your neighbor, buy local." And we here at the David Tulis Show, we cover, by my inclination, we cover things that are of special value and special interest to you. We've been we're the radio station and the media platform that covers the environmental story of the city and of the county, and that is stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. The story that I think is real significant comes to my attention from a newspaper report in San Diego. The headline is "Journal Retracts Paper on Chemtrail Threat to San Diego," and that is the San Diego Union Tribune. And the author is a geophysicist who's written many, many academic papers, and his paper on the use of fly ash, which is a coal waste, the use of fly ash over San Diego has caused an uproar. And the uproar is that it challenges the official line, and that there is no story. The official line is there's nothing happening up there. All those white streaks, even those over Chattanooga today, are merely water vapor. Part of his study, which runs to 16 pages and is published, and it's still published there. Okay? You can't unsay something, even though this journal, in a fit of political correctness, retracted the essay. It retracted the essay, according to Dr. Hernan, in a very irregular way, without following proper protocols, and it was a peer-reviewed. It was a peer-reviewed essay. It was peer-reviewed. And the retraction is based upon false critical statements, misleading and pejorative statements, and other things that are part of what he says is a disinformation campaign. Here's this boring scientist, and his paper, which looks at a remarkable environmental story, is taking flack. But you can't unsay something, and in God's good providence, I intend to make it available to you, my listener, through Nooganomics.com. In fact, I've got a gallery of photographs, many of them from Chattanooga and Knoxville and Nashville, of recent days' heavy treatment over the sky. Now, you're breathing this in. Now, we say, well, what's wrong with breathing a little coal ash? Well, number one, we're having our major employer in Chattanooga that has 3,000 people on the job taking flack for having a little bit more, 40 times more nitrogen oxide in the emissions of its diesel engines than it's supposed to. Well, that is a very, very minor point. These engines are many dozens of times cleaner than they were just 10 years ago, and so now the defeat of the testing sensors is viewed as a major scandal, which has cost the market value of that company billions and billions of dollars. I think it went down 30%. In trading last week. But Dr. Herndon in his paper talks about why coal ash. He says, reliable observers have reported tropospheric aerosol emplacement since the late 1990s. In the early phases of the program, one might suspect that a variety of substances were tried. Again, you spray these salts in the air and you dim the sun. The problem, though, as he points out, is that when you put fly ash, which is coal waste that contains aluminum, strontium, and barium, and many other pollutants, when you put that in the air as a matter of policy, well, it all comes down. And he says that these micron-sized specks are small enough to be absorbed in the skin. So you inhale them, you breathe them in, you eat them on your food. And the global extent, he says, of tropical coal fly ash emplacement is inferred from rainwater analyses reporting the three elements, aluminum, barium, and strontium, that are prominent in the leachate of laboratory coal fly ash water leach experiments. So he studied leaching of coal ash and found the same ingredients in leached coal ash as he does in the air that you breathe. Now, we have that here in Chattanooga too. These are elements that I'm going to have to ask ask Bill Colby at the Hamilton County and Chattanooga Air Pollution Control Bureau to give me the latest data for last year and, well, part of this year too, for these elements. They are in the air all the time. These are not naturally occurring, and the aluminum and strontium and barium that we're breathing in here in Chattanooga at the Iron Man festivities are not from China, but they are from either stratospheric or tropospheric deposits of something. Okay, now this professor says it looks like it's coal fly ash, and he says it contains potentially leachable toxins, including aluminum, arsenic, barium, beryllium, boron, cadmium, chromium-3, chromium-4, cobalt, lead, manganese, mercury, selenium, strontium, thallium, thorium, and uranium. Coal fly ash has been described as being more radioactive than nuclear waste. Remember when TVA had that fly ash pond that had a dam that broke and some houses were swamped by it? Well, that was called a major environmental pollution hazard. Well, it's fine, though, because it was on the ground. It was all damp, right? It was kind of a mud. What happens when you take that fly ash, inject it with gas, and as part of a government program to fight global warming, you inject that into the atmosphere? We have it going on today. Something is going on in the skies of Chattanooga, and aluminum, you say, is natural. Well, it is. He says, the Professor Herndon says, although aluminum is abundant in the Earth's crust, it is highly immobile. Consequently, our plant's biota, including humans, have not developed natural defense mechanisms for exposure to chemically mobile aluminum. It is a matter of grave concern that aluminum is in a chemically mobile form can be readily extracted from coal fly ash with rainwater or in situ with body fluids. Aluminum is implicated in such neurological diseases as autism, spectrum disorder, ASD, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, all of which have markedly increased in recent years. Are you hearing this? Are you hearing that? This is a scientific paper that was retracted. Okay, it was retracted by the good people on irregular grounds. He goes on to say aluminum is thought to impair fertility in men and is also implicated in neurological disorders in bees and other creatures. And he talks about why we have chemtrailing, or why we have SAG, stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. Blocking sunlight is almost universally recognized by geoengineers as being relatively inexpensive, easy to implement, and moreover has a precedent in nature, and that would be major volcanic eruptions that inject ash into the upper atmosphere or the stratosphere, which may remain suspended for a year or more, dimming sunlight and momentarily cooling the earth. But here's the problem. Here's the problem when men, in their interventions, think that they can control the weather or affect other purposes. We can just leave that vague there. Evidence suggests that Western governments and militaries moved ahead with a full-scale operational geoengineering program. But instead of mining and milling rock to produce artificial volcanic ash in sufficient volumes to cool the planet, this is what's remarkable. They adopted a low-cost, pragmatic alternative, but one with consequences far more dire to life on Earth than global warming might ever be, and used coal combustion fly ash. That's what we're talking about. To make matters worse, instead of placing the material high into the stratosphere, right? That's at 40,000 feet, where there is minimal mixing and the substance might remain suspended for a year or more, they opted to spray coal fly ash into the lower atmosphere, the troposphere, which mixes with the air people breathe and gets rained down to the ground. And spraying at night, Professor Herndon says, makes for a feedback loop that's unintended. And that is that it makes the planet warmer. And he says that, let me turn back a page here. He says, during the daytime, coal fly ash clouds may block sunlight, but at night may retard heat loss from the earth, act to prevent rainfall, and contribute to global warming. Nighttime tanker jet spraying, presumably to hide the activity from public view, further retards heat loss. And heat loss is what you want to have. You want to have heat loss so that the heat at night can radiate out. If it can't radiate out, well, then we have trapped heat. And we've mentioned that, and I've talked about that at least once before. Have you not noticed the change in the weather? Here's the evidence, just that you can see yourself. Just ask yourself if you've noticed any of the things that I'm going to mention here. Give yourself a little test. Does the sun seem weak? Does the sky often seem hazy and the sun is just kind of a flat disk behind a layer of haze, of smog? Have you noticed how we have incoherent skies? The Lord's Day yesterday was full of incoherencies. There were different cloud systems. There were streaks. There was ribbing in the sky as if the clouds were responding to radio waves of some kind or another. Have you noticed how the heat from the sun in the summer, in the depth of summer, is not hot? The heat is not hot. It's not penetrating. It doesn't go down to your bones. Have you noticed that when you're driving around and you have your elbow out of the open window? Have you noticed that? The heat is not oppressive that builds up in your car. It's just not. Have you noticed also how on a very hazy day, the sun is so big that you can't have a clean shadow line of your body against the wall of a house? You notice that it's all hazed out. The line is hazed out. You don't have clean lines of shadow anymore because the sun filtering through the particulate, occluded, if you will, by the particulate that these jets have laid, is many times larger in the scale of being a light source, and so you don't have a clean shadow line anymore. Have you noticed how even in late afternoon on a sunny day, your lawn is still damp? Why do moisture drops not evaporate by noon? Why do they not evaporate? Well, these are things that suggest that the sun is being dimmed. We have at least 20% dimming of the sun, according to an Israeli evaporation study reported in the BBC a couple years ago, of about 20%. So the loss of evaporation rates changes everything. It changes weather patterns, and from that we have these gigantic hailstones. We have bizarre hail floods. We have these amazing events where hundreds of thousands of cows in a northwestern state are destroyed by a sudden freeze. We have biblical proportions in droughts, California. There's a report on our CBS affiliate in Redding, California, that there are people who are actually saying, they're actually suggesting that it may be part of a government program out there in California. What do you think? This is David Tulis.
Expect mostly cloudy and warm weather for your Monday. A few showers possible out there. Highs near 80. Tonight, a few more scattered showers. Lows mid and upper 60s. A wet day for Tuesday with areas of rain. Highs staying into the 70s. A lingering shower possible through Wednesday as well. Just because summer is coming to a close doesn't mean your vacation has to end. Get a special retail gift card when you book on a Monday. Visit Hojo.com to find out how. That's Hojo.com, and happy Monday. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ford.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hey, all you gun enthusiasts! Carter Shooting Supply has just bought a crazy load of guns and is having a crazy huge sale event going on now. A huge inventory of Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, and Taurus all on sale. Taurus guns have a mail-in rebate for $25 to $50. All long guns and all ammo on sale too, just in time for hunting season. Come in and take advantage of this crazy huge sale event going on now at Carter Shooting Supply, or shop from home by going to cartershootingsupply.com. Highway 58, Harrison. Check our prices before you buy.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
We do the best quality work. We have the best customer service, the most competitive prices around.
Cell Surgeon, a painless operation to fix your sick device.
Well, if you have a cheap charger or something that's not really designed for your phone, it can mess with your battery. It can actually fry your phone. So you need to make sure you have a quality product that's going to be designed for your phone.
Cell Surgeon, your smartphone doctor's in the house at the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
You charge it in the morning, and by noon it's at 50% under normal use. That means your battery's pretty much dead. And once you've reached that point, it starts to deteriorate.
Cell Surgeon, call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com.
We do free estimates. If your phone's not working properly, bring it in when we're happy to take a look at it and diagnose it and see what we think is wrong with it at no charge. Most phone repairs can be done in 30 minutes or less.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
Don't take it in the bathroom. Don't ever put it in your back pocket. And don't charge your phone while you're sleeping.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. That's cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. Cell Surgeon, your smart device doctor is in the house.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at E.J. Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Soddy Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's E.J. Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156. An alternative to insurance for people of Christian interest is Samaritan Ministries, a cost-sharing group whose fellow members contribute to your medical expenses. Hi, David Tulis here, member of Samaritan Ministries. I have no deductibles, no silly in-network rules. I choose my own doctors. I'm a cash payer and get the cash discount with med providers. I'm 100% compensated by Christian families around the nation who send their checks directly with a personal note and pray for me in my medical distress. I have a family membership. I write a $405 check every month to a person in need. Just love it. Learn more about Samaritan Ministries Tuesday, September 29 at 7 p.m. at Brainerd Hills Presbyterian Church on East Brainerd Road. It's a mini conference on the Christian alternative to medical insurance.
If the South would have won, we'd have had it made. I'd probably run for president of the Southern states. The day Elvis passed away would be our national holiday. If the South would have won, we'd have had it made.
NASCAR, Laura Ingraham, David Tulis. You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga. CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. President Obama is just beginning to address the UN General Assembly. It's his annual address. CBS News White House correspondent Pam Coulter.
The president's expected to highlight diplomatic triumphs with Iran and Cuba in his speech, while calling for nations that violate international rules to be held accountable. What's likely to be a tense meeting between Mr. Obama and Russia's Vladimir Putin comes late in the day. There's already been arguing over which side requested the meeting and what the focus will be, Ukraine or Syria. But the White House believes it's worth a try to resolve those conflicts.
What would President Trump do to help the middle class? Candidate Donald Trump told CBS's 60 Minutes he'd cut taxes.
There will be a large segment of our country that will have a zero rate. And that's something I haven't told anybody.
Trump would raise taxes on the wealthy. Political analyst Leonard Steinhorn says Trump is answering critics who say he's been heavy on rhetoric but light on detail.
It's going to be a flag he's going to carry over the next couple of weeks to be able to say, look, I have policies, I have leadership, I have specifics, and he wants to put other people on defensive.
Trump will have more to say about his tax plan about an hour from now. On the CBS Health Watch, researchers are reporting a breakthrough in the treatment of early-stage breast cancer.
Almost all women operated on for the most common form of early-stage breast cancer go on to have chemotherapy as a precaution, even though most wouldn't have seen their cancer spread anyway. Now, a major study has found that a hormone test already on the market can accurately identify which women can safely avoid chemo. 5 years on, more than 99% of them remained free of any cancer. And as one oncologist says, you can't do better than that. Vicki Barker, CBS News.
On his way home from Philadelphia, Pope Francis said bishops who covered up sexual abuse by priests were guilty of something horrible.
As for victims and their relatives who could not forgive abusive priests, Francis said he fully understood.
Sí, lo comprendo.
I pray for them. I do not judge someone who is not able to forgive, he said.
CBS's Alan Pizzi. Security guards at a prison in Kunduz, Afghanistan, were no match for Taliban fighters armed with rocket-propelled grenades. They managed to free hundreds of fellow insurgents. Reporting from Kabul via Skype, Suna Engel Rasmussen tells us the city is on the brink of falling to the Taliban.
By mid-morning, they had managed to capture the regional hospital and the university, and by early afternoon, they had also taken the headquarters belonging to the intelligence services.
In Salem, Massachusetts, 7-year-old Aiden Wright did the right thing when he found a wad of cash.
There was this black checkbook, and I opened it up, and I saw $8,000 in it, and then I brought it down to my uncle,
who gave it to the police. The man who lost the money gave Aiden a $100 reward. In early trading on Wall Street, the Dow Industrials are down 151 points. This is CBS News.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-800-569-5440. That's 1-800-569-5440. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Term Busters, 1-800-569-5440, or visit our website at termbusters.net. Remember, 1-800-569-5440. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
There's been a flare-up of violence at a holy site in Jerusalem. CBS's Robert Berger has the story.
Palestinians barricaded themselves in the Mosque of Al-Aqsa here in Jerusalem, throwing stones and firebombs at Israeli police. Rumors have swirled among Palestinians that Israel is planning to take over the holy site, known to Jews as the Temple Mount. The clashes occurred as Israelis celebrate Sukkot, the biblical Feast of Tabernacles. Robert Berger, CBS News, Jerusalem.
In Yemen, 2 airstrikes by the Saudi-led coalition that's been targeting Iranian-backed rebels hit a wedding party by mistake. They killed 28 people and wounded dozens more. A wave of violence between Christians and Muslims in the Central African Republic has left 36 people dead. The outbreak is the worst that country has seen in almost a year. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
This is David Tulis. We are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and want to let you know that at 11:30 we're going to be calling out some numbers. We gave out beaucoup de tune-in cards, that is to say in French, many tune-in cards at the county fair yesterday, and we're going to be giving away pizzas. We're giving away jewelry from Chrissy's, and also some surgeries. These are walk-in surgeries with local anesthesia only for tags, moles, injuries, and the like. So those are from Dr. David Red and his practice on the North Shore. Also, just want you to be aware that at 7 o'clock on Tuesday off of East Brand Road at Presbyterian Church, there's going to be an event about Samaritan Ministries, and it's the title of the event is The Christian Alternative to Medical Insurance. And I'm a member of this organization. My family and I pay every month a check directly to another Christian family in need. I pay as a family man $405, and when I have a crisis, an emergency, I'm paid at 100% by other Christian families who all write $405 checks to me to cover expenses. And this is not insurance; it's Christian cost sharing, and it's called Samaritan Ministries. And the event is Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and it's at Brainerd Hills Presbyterian Church. My name is David Tulis, and we're here brought to you by Trade Bank of Chattanooga, the smarter way to barter and to improve your cash flow. We trade among 400 local businesses in every field. Learn more by calling Jürgen Mutz, the German with the southern twang, at 877-2202. We have here with us Kevin Burks and Ezra Mays. They work they work together in Christian ministry at Rehoboth Ministries, a church, and Ezra Mays is behind an effort called World Impact, which helps men who have been incarcerated find employment. And this World Impact ministry is involved every day in sending a couple dozen workers from the Chattanooga area to the Wapaka Foundry, which is north of Chattanooga. I'm trying to remember which town it's in. It's in Etowah. That's right, in Etowah, Tennessee, just northeast of Chattanooga. Well, Ezra, welcome to our show again.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Well, tell us briefly what World Impact is trying to accomplish and who the men are who are involved in it.
Well, World Impact, we're doing quite a few things. One of our major projects now would be, we've specialized in bringing young men and women out of the gang life. We try to give them a better life, and in doing so, we try to evaluate what it is that they need in order to live a healthy and wholesome life. And what we're doing now, we have partnered with Wapaka in Etowah. They consider themselves a felon-friendly company and environment. So a lot of young men who have felons for the first time, and women, they're working jobs paying $9.55, $11, $13 an hour, full benefits, things that they've never had in their entire lives. The only holdup was being able to transport them from Chattanooga to Etowah. So we bought a bus, and we are now transporting every morning at 4:30 young men and women to Etowah, to Wapaka Foundry, to make sure that they are able to work, get paid, live a wholesome life, and leave the street life alone.
So they come back to Chattanooga on the same bus?
Come back on the same
Ezra?
bus. The bus leaves at 4:30 a.m., going up there and to drop them off, and 4:30 p.m. to take the second shift up there to pick the first shift up.
And then the second shift also has to be picked up at
4:30 a.m.
Okay. Well, so how many people are involved in this ministry of transportation?
Right now, we just went through another interview process of, we had about 40 at our last interview. We have about 35, close to 40 now that are involved now, being transported back and forth.
Now, these are people who are employed in the foundry business, which is steel. There are all kinds of things that are made in that plant. Can you say just a little bit about what a foundry is and does, and what some of the work, what some of the assignments might be for the people involved in World Impact Ministries?
Yes, I had the privilege of sitting in the train. Of course, I don't want them to be a part of something that I don't know about. Wapaka makes brake pads. They make the brake pads for different companies, and there are different lines that they go on. Some may just take the brake pads, shake them up, hit them a couple of times to make sure that they don't fall apart. The work is not hard work. It's just hot work. It's sometimes it's 120 degrees in there, extremely hot.
Because a foundry implies liquid metal and great heat, right, to form it into the shapes of brake pads or other supports for the pad.
Very much so. And I won't pretend as if everybody hangs in there. The first crew that I sent down of about 25, 30 people, before the first shift was over, about 15 of them fell off the wagon. But those who are hanging in there, they just keep pressing because they are determined not just to work, but to live better lives.
Well, also in the studio with us, we have a gentleman named Kevin Burks. He's 49 years old, and he has spent some time in prison. Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, my name is Kevin Burks. I'm like I said, I'm a minister at Rehoboth Ministries up under Pastor Mays, and but just to tell you a little bit about myself, I once was a former gang leader. Changed my life around, been through a lot of adversaries in my life, grew up in more or less a child. My childhood was based on child abuse. And so I spent a lot of time in the penitentiary as a result of the disastrous lifestyle that I was living. A lot of it was based on just anger, growing up the way that I did. And when I was able to step out, I felt like I couldn't be raised right at home. So I was raised in the streets. And the thing is that now I've turned my life around. I've also, at one time, faced the death penalty. And spent several years fighting to prove my innocence. And that came about. However, now I'm trying to reach out to other gang members and to let them know that there is another way that you can go and you can change your life around and be successful. And everything that looks bad is not as bad as it looks. It just looks that way. But there is things that you can do, and God is our Savior. And there's just things that you can get around good people in your life that can introduce you to Christ, and you can change your life.
Are you married with children, or do you have a family?
I have kids. I'm divorced now.
And so tell about a regular day, Kevin Burks, as part of Rehoboth Ministries. What do you do there? How is your work for that church? How does that work connect with the people who are taken every day to Wapaka Foundry for employment?
Well, what I do personally is I stay in tune with. I go to the streets and I try to reach out and talk to people, and I try to introduce them to Rehoboth. Pretty much my pastor handles the foundation, the impact program. He's handling that. But what I do is try to introduce people to Christ, the church, bring people in and introduce them to our church. And, hopefully the word, they hear something different than they've been hearing. And in most cases, it can change the direction.
Where does that fellowship meet?
We meet at our church at Rehoboth Ministries.
And where is that?
That's it's off of Lee Highway, 6400 off of Lee Highway. It's right next to it's right in front of the T-Mobile company.
Well, how is it that you found a connection to the Lord Jesus, Kevin Burke? Tell about the influences in your life that made you see something different, maybe made you repent of your sins in your past.
Well, let's see. I was saved at the age of 14. So it wasn't that I didn't know Christ. It more or less at that age, I was going through a thing that a lot of the abuse didn't stop. And I was wondering why I was still going through things, even though I was saved. And so I feel that I got a little discouraged because I felt like at that time, I felt that God wasn't stepping in on the behalf of me. Later to learn that, you know, the different things that I went through was just though God was preparing to use me later to help someone else that's going through these type of situations out. So I had always, like I said, from the age of 14, been saved. I always knew God, but I walked out on God. God didn't walk out on me. And in return, when I returned back to, when I realized that man couldn't help me in no situation, and that God had always worked for me, and God is on his timing. And when I realized that when I was facing the death penalty, and God said, man took you in, but I will walk you out. And at that time, man had no control to help me. I didn't even feel like they were helping me, but I knew God was moving through me, and he was taking care of the situation and things in a way that man couldn't.
Well, even if God hadn't taken care of your situation, even if he had left you on death row, Kevin Burks, would you still have believed in him? Would you have seen in him salvation for your soul, even though he might not have brought salvation for your body with capital punishment at the end of your life?
Yes, most definitely. Like I said, I've always been a man of God. You just have to form that relationship with God, and you know, his word never leaves. His word never defiles. His word is truth. And so it was never, a lot of times we can get caught up in our own ways that we want to think about things that are going on instead of looking at, just maintaining his word. See, his word has never failed me. I just wasn't obedient to his word. The Bible is our guidance, and like I said, with God in my life, I knew I had no other place to turn. And even if I had, stayed on death row, it wouldn't have made a difference. I still would have been saved.
And let me ask, the listener wants to ask you, Kevin Burks, about the kinds of things that you turn from. What states of mind or states of soul did you turn from when you became a Christian in practice and in belief? What kind of perspectives did you have previous to your second conversion, if you will, or your conversion? What habits of mind did you have previous that now you hate and despise?
Well, I hate that I thought that everyone was against me. I hate that I thought that nothing could be better. I hate that I thought situations would remain, my entire life. I hate that I had defiled family members. I dishonored, disrespected people in the streets. It's a lot of things that I wish I hadn't done. And I always given up. I've already turned it over to God, but I've always given an apology for people that I have hurt and people that I don't realize that I hurt. Your mentality when you're in the street life and you're in the drugs and in the gang life, you're not thinking with a conscious mind. You're basically a reactionary to whatever.
Well, it sounds like your conversion at 14 was a conversion in form and of the outward man, and the inward man had not been converted at all.
You can say that.
Is that fair?
I would agree with that. I knew God, I accepted God, but I wasn't obedient to God. So, and then getting in and then going through the different things that I went through in my life, just made me further distance myself from the truth. And
you work for Rehoboth Ministries. Are you paid for your work there?
I'm paid with Christ.
Okay. Well, I understand that you're paid with gospel connections and encouragement, but what is the question is how do you make your living? How do you make your way, build up savings? What kind of work are you trained to do, or do you want to do, Kevin Burks?
I think, if by asking me that question, to say, let me just say, I have a outstanding support system, people in my life that helped me manage. And you know, I'm currently on disability, but the way that what I believe is, it's not about a financial thing with me as far as, you know, how I live or, you know, provide, because God provides everything that I need. And, you know, my payoff to me is being able to give something back of what God has given me. And so that's my pay and that's my reward.
There was a book that came out in the 1980s, Kevin Burke's, by a sociologist who said that it was called The Unheavenly City. It was a study about poor parts of major cities at that time, and what he found, what Edward Banfield found, was that people who live in poverty and in ghettos and in bad situations often have a very short-term time perspective. They think about the coming weekend. They think about the immediate pleasure, the immediate sign of respect, the immediate payout, the immediate delight, or getting an advantage over an enemy, let's say. It's all very short term. People think in terms of the weekend. How did you think like that prior to being freed from prison? What was your perspective, short term or long term, and how did you change it?
I think. Let me just say this. I think that when you're not involved with Christ, you pretty much deal with the perfected glamour that the devil portrays. So everything that, you know, it don't matter who's doing the study or whatnot, everything that you do is based on, you know, just your reality. So everybody don't think the same. I don't really think I thought short term or long term, because I was a misguided missile. I don't think I was thinking at all. So you know, to answer that question, I basically would have to say that everybody thinks differently. And I've read a lot of books where, you know, psychologists are trying to basically diagnose a situation. And sometimes it's just different for different people. With me, I never, even when I was in that lifestyle, I never really cared about a financial gain or anything. It was always about trying to help somebody else. I was always the one who was reaching out to try to help somebody else. Even when I was living the life of sin, it was still, my compassion was people. And I used to look at people in lower situations and just feel the need to want to help them. So a lot of my troubles and my financial gain came because I was trying to help someone else.
So the troubles you had with the law, even with convictions for crime and even death row, you're saying were somehow misconstrued and they were favoring other people? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, no, I believe in speaking about my life, I believe that I had allowed myself to become something that I really wasn't. I think they titled me to be something that I really wasn't, you know, because usually when people are on the outside or speaking about you, they don't know they really don't know much about you or what's going on the inside. I never was that monster they tried to make me out to be, but they didn't get to know that about me. That's just things they spoke about me. So, you know, you have to look at it, you know, the only one who knew me then and knows me now is God.
This is David Tulis and Kevin Burks. Thank you for chatting with us. If I could bring Ezra Mays back to the microphone. This is David Tulis. We're talking with Ezra Mays. Now we heard from Kevin Burks, who is a man who had been on death row and had several years in the penitentiary for various crimes. He's repented and become a Christian, and he is on the staff of Rehoboth Ministries. Well, Ezra, the question I asked for you is long-term versus short-term perspective. My listeners are concerned about capitalism, creating wealth, and that's always really a matter of character. Capitalism and capital are character. If you don't have character, you cannot have capital. You have only debt and destruction and corrosion. So the question is perspective, long-term perspective versus short-term. How are you trying to encourage people to have a long-term perspective in your World Impact Ministries and the ministry of your church?
I believe this here. I believe that long-term perspective, in order to really reach that goal where not where Pastor Mays is trying to take you, but where God is trying to take you, it's going to take a change of mentality. You're going to have to change the way you think. And that's what we're trying to impart in these young men and women, is changing the way they think. When the children of Israel came out of Egypt, it took them so long to get into Canaan, not because they were freed, but they had not, they were delivered, but they had not yet been freed. Their mentality had not changed. And what happens when we take them to another level and we don't try to change their mentality, there is a chance they can turn Canaan into Egypt. When your mentality is not changed, you can turn Canaan into Egypt. Your good can look like your bad.
And of course, Christianity has the picture of the liberation from Egypt, God's children, the Israelites, freed from decades of servitude in Egypt. And you're essentially promising the same sort of liberation.
Yes, and while we're in our wilderness experience, being able to change the mentality of these young men and women. Is it possible? Yes, it is, because we see it happening every day. We need your help.
This is David Tulis, Ezra Mace from Rehoboth Ministries and World Impact Ministries. Thank you for joining my listener and me here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Thank you very much.
We heard from Kevin Burks, who has been a prisoner for some time. He's a freed man now. He's 49 years old. He works at Rehoboth Ministries with Ezra Mays, and this church and this group called World Impact Ministries is transporting people with troubled legal past to their employment from Chattanooga up to Etowah at Waupaca Foundry, where they've been employed. Waupaca he deems to be felon-friendly, so this is a company that understands people have had trouble with laws, and they've paid their debt to society, and now they're trying to be gainfully employed. My name is David Tulis. We are brought to you by Ducks, the indoor air professionals, and that take care of your indoor air pollution. They can't take care of that outfit, can't take care of chemtrails, but it can mice, mold, and other things.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect mostly cloudy and warm weather for your Monday. A few showers possible out there. Highs near 80. Tonight, a few more scattered showers. Lows mid and upper 60s. A wet day for Tuesday with areas of rain. Highs staying into the 70s. A lingering shower possible through Wednesday as well. Just because summer is coming to a close doesn't mean your vacation has to end. Get a special retail gift card when you book on a Monday. Visit Hojo.com to find out how. That's Hojo.com, and happy Monday. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ford.
On AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
That smells so good. Smells like a the big Italian dinner. But you're going to walk out with two. Buy one hot pizza, get a one for free. 2 pizzas. You got the 2 for the price of 1 at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. My favorite Italian restaurant of all the time. Now, I'm living in Hickson. I go to Raphael's right down the street in Hickson Pike, right near Highland Plaza. You're in Saudi Daisy? Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria in Saudi Daisy. Just next to Saudi Daisy Church of God. Hey, you're on Signal Mountain. There's a Raphael's Italian Restaurant and a Pizzeria. It's right on the main drag. You're going to love the pasta, the pizza. Buy one hot pizza, get a one for free. 2 pizzas. You got the 2 for the price of 1 at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Tastes so good. Bring the whole family. Come on, Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Mangia. Salute.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducks, indoor air professionals, better known as Duck Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duck Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents.
Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, indoor air professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducks. Call now.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, myself for all the action.
Fox News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pam Puso. It's been a long time since they've talked face-to-face, but they will today. President Obama and his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. On the agenda, Ukraine and Russia's growing involvement in Syria.
The reaction that we're seeing from the Russians now is actually responding from weakness. They're concerned about the investment there.
White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest on Fox and Friends. In northern Afghanistan, the Taliban is gaining ground.
Taliban fighters have captured more than half of Kunduz city after launching a three-pronged offensive. A spokesman for the provincial capital of Kunduz says gun battles continue between Afghan government forces and the Taliban.
Fox News Radio's Jessica Gallagher. There's a report that Taliban fighters broke into a jail and freed hundreds of militants. Job cuts are coming to Whole Foods Market, some 1,500 over the next 2 months. The company looking to lower prices. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
I do thank you for giving me a couple of minutes of your time. There's a start of a drawing at 11:30 this morning on the Mr. Judd show. Eric Judd will be doling out treats and treasures, including jewelry and pizzas from Jet's Pizza, and also surgeries, $200 coupons for surgeries with Dr. David Red. David Red is the cash-only walk-in clinic on the North Shore. His outfit is right in the same center as the Publix on the North Shore, and he is a very fine man and a Christian, and has a great idea for a business. In fact, he's been on the show a couple of times, and tells me, told me later that he has people interested in copying his model, in him replicating his whole concept of a walk-in surgery clinic. He is a noted local surgeon, I think in stomach, some kind of well, I don't remember exactly what it is, but something in the gut he deals with, and hernia. He's a hernia specialist, and so we have coupons from him. These are for walk-in kinds of surgeries with local anesthesia only, and we're giving those away too. So tune in at 11:30 if you got a tune-in card, of which we gave out a couple hundred maybe yesterday and Saturday at the county fair. This is David Tulis, and I did meet a listener at the county fair, and it was very delightful to meet the listener of this show, and invite other people to join in. You know, Sean Hannity made the switch. He was on another station here in Chattanooga, and dropped off that station, and we snapped him up within a couple of days, and he is our national great star. And he made the switch, and so should you. Tell a friend to make the switch as well, from his current hangout on the radio here to our station, where I'm the number five host here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're online. Just slap a .com on the end of that. Our screen is a very simple meat and potatoes website. Just the purpose being to stream our shows, and on your smartphone, if you have the TuneIn Radio app, you can hear us on your smartphone, even though you are beyond the range of our pulsing 1,000 watts at the Saudi Daisy Tower, the 180-foot tower, which is this blogger's biggest pin. And that is who I am. I'm David Tulis. I'm a writer. My domain is the number 7 media platform in Chattanooga, and that's Nooganomics.com. The website for the man who matters is not, and yes, that's right, it's not very popular. It's not popular because there are really not a lot of people who matter. And I'm content with you, my listener, and I have a reader on my website, which is, again, Nooganomics.com, where we cover local economy and the free market and propose a very mild idea. Love your neighbor and buy local. It's a very mild idea. Has no force at all as in its makeup. Purely voluntary, very, very voluntary minded story. There's a story out today about the shootout with a man, an officer-induced killing, and it is in Walker County. I'm looking at Matt Barber's account from Sunday's TV3's website. Catoosa County Sheriff Gary Sisk killed a man. Says that an officer killed a man. Sheriff Sisk is filling in for Walker County Sheriff Steve Wilson, who is out of town. The story says the deputy involved shooting was on Cochran Drive in Rossville around 8:30 Sunday evening. There was a woman who had been assaulted, and she was taken to the hospital with some injuries. And the deputies approached a house, and they could see through a window, the story says, a man loading a shotgun. Deputies gave instruction to the man to come outside. He came out of the home armed, and he did not comply with officers' demands. Of course, you know what the demands are. Throw it down. And deputies shot and killed him in the front yard. So we don't know whether he aimed it or whether he just held it. But the question of officer shootings of the civilians, right? We have the military branch here of the executive branch of every town government, which is the police department. Or we have sheriff's deputies and sheriffs, which are they're not executive in that same way. But we have all around the country stories of abuse by these organizations of their power amassed over years of lobbying with special favors, special privileges in the law. I was watching Saturday a video of police officers who were confronting with their guns aimed a man behind a parked car in a wheelchair. And he was a man who was having severe personal problems of some kind. And he reached into his crotch or into his belt area and took 10 shots. He was shot dead, a man in a wheelchair, partially paralyzed. And so many bullets hit him that in his death throes, he fell over the left side of the wheelchair. More and more police are facing trials, according to the Wall Street Journal. Few are convicted. There's a story out of Bastrop, Texas. More police officers have been charged with crimes for deadly on-duty shootings in 2015 than any other year going back a decade. But not a single officer has been convicted of murder or manslaughter this year. Experts say bringing such cases remain challenging for prosecutors, with judges and juries loath to second-guess decisions made by police in the line of duty. And that's because of TV shows and the like that esteem the officer's judgment. The threat to officer safety is paramount, and justifying the slaughter of many people who deserve no death at all, who deserve, if anything, a bit of conversation, maybe a bit of cooling down. But no, there's the movement toward something that's not identified, or a suspicious movement, brings a hail of bullets. And the photograph in the Wall Street Journal is of Daniel Willis, who's on his trial for killing a woman after answering a 9/11 call. The story says the cases represent a tiny fraction of all fatal police shootings. Most officers are never charged because authorities deem the shootings to be lawful. Still, some critics of police practices call the increase in prosecution's progress compared with a year ago, when grand juries declined to indict police in high-profile deaths of civilians in Ferguson, Missouri, and Staten Island. There's a quote from Tom Orloff, a retired district attorney from Alameda County. He says, persuading 12 jurors to convict can be difficult because of the nature of police shootings. Quote, they're almost never premeditated. They arise spontaneously out of a situation, and most jurors have the idea that cops are out to do the best job they can. So there's always this extraordinary care for personal safety. No officer can even feel in the slightest bit threatened, though, of course, officers can threaten people all they want. They can lie to people. They can threaten them. They can hit them and threaten to injure them, and so on, threaten to seize their liberties and so on. And they're not held to account for that at all. It's all just lawful talk for them as well. So we are hearing another story now of a Walker County deputy in the sheriff's department shooting down a man with a gun, holding a gun. We don't have details in the story by Matt Barber of TV3 as to whether or not that gun was aimed at anybody, or if some motion was made to see that weapon as ready to fire on an officer. So certainly there is self-defense, which is for you to be charged. You have there's a lower threshold to charge you than to charge an officer. You have to feel your life is threatened, and an officer has a somewhat similar standard, but he can be quick on the trigger, and of course he's trained to be quick on the trigger, and there's a great prowess to fire quickly and accurately, and multiple times, just to make sure the guy's down, right? Just to make sure that the man who's hit already 2 or 3 or 4 times by bullets isn't going to raise up the last gasp and fire a stray shot on his death knell. This is David Tulis. We are brought to you by Sky Aerial Services at 521-0284, and also by Carter Shooting Supply. There's a special going on for the last day or two of this month, and that is discounts on family range memberships and also individual range memberships. I don't remember the price offhand of the family. I think it's it's 200 down to maybe 125, and the individual range price is, I think, down from 100 to 75, something like that. It's a good deal for you. You have use of the shooting range at Carter Shooting Supply at your convenience. We are the station that covers local economy, the free market. There was an essay in the Chattanooga Time Free Press last week about the Republican attack on Muslims, and I just have to kind of laugh at the media's accounting of the very important distinctions that Ben Carson makes. He's called the New York Times editorial, and the Chattanooga Times says that he makes bigoted comments about Muslims, that a Muslim should never be elected president. Well, a Muslim should not hold power, any authority at all. And that is because he represents an alien, anti-constitutional, anti-democratic political ideology, which is totalitarian to its core. It is totalitarian with a religious gloss. That means that the practitioners of the Mohammedan system have God's favor, not just the favor of the people, right? Not just, which is what the Marxists they have. They're always representing the people in their totalitarian system. That's not quite enough. You have it much better your way in the Muslim religion, where God himself, Allah, is the one who commends you for your bloodletting, your deceit, and the other things which are part of the Muslim life. Getting the best price for a female slave that you've captured in jihad. That's that's keeping Allah's assets in good shape, making sure that you're liquid and have accruing to yourself as much capital as possible. That's part of the system of the Mohammedan theme and scheme of things. I'll be publishing in the next day or two Sheriff Hammond's speech at the Pachyderm Club, and I had a listener friendly to our notions about constitutional government write a transcript of that speech. It was captured by a reporter at TV9, and I think it's probably the best viewed story on TV9's website for the past couple of years. People all around the world have seen Jim Hammond speak about what in shorthand he calls communism with a god. Now that of course mistakes a little bit communism. Communism is kind of an atheistic secularist theory. It's a heresy of Christianity. But in that speech, that language does come out, and we will be publishing that. And I'm doing it for your edification. You, my listener. I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time here on the radio, but my work goes beyond just chatting with you for a few minutes here on the radio. There's other work to be done, and that work I would like to suggest is reading. I mean, you have to read into some of the things that we explore, usually in shorthand, in a kind of shorthand at Nooganomics.com. Sheriff Hammond spoke on the 31st of August before the Pachyderm Club, and I've got the transcript here in my hand, and I'm looking at it. I'm going to probably review it one more time with his speech playing in the back of my ear. It was a 32-minute presentation at Stewart Heights Baptist Church here. I'm sorry. That was Bill Warner's presentation. It was a presentation at the Pachyderm Club somewhere in town. And Sheriff Hammond makes very important and vital distinctions. They are vital because I think they truly understand the nature of the threat. And he said, boy, that just sounds so dramatic. Talk about the Muslim threat. Well, think about this. Muhammad Abdulaziz was not an aberration. Okay, he was not someone who was radicalized. The federal government is going to it will make mystifying the results of its investigation. We still don't know what happened. The federal government is not passing out any information that can be of any use to anybody. Great public service there, Washington. But here in Chattanooga, we have this mystery, the mystery of who Muhammad Abdulaziz was and why he went on a religiously inspired paramilitary crusade, a one-man show in jihad to destroy the infidels. And he killed four outright and wounded mortally another person in his attack on July 16. And Sheriff Hammond explains why this happened. He explains why Muhammad Abdulaziz did what he did. And he points out in his presentation that I will be publishing. I'd like you to know that it's going to be available at Nooganomics.com, the website for the man who matters. And it's a discussion a little bit about the history of Islam, the trilogy, which is to say the three books, the Hadith, the Quran, and the Sirah, which is the biography of Muhammad, and how these books work together. And it is even in it's published, these are sequential and progressive revelations. The older Quran verses, which are pacific and religious in nature, he says, are overridden, if you will, by the later, more militant, militaristic parts of the Quran. So the Quran is self-contradictory, but you have to understand that it's progressive. And so the earlier peaceful religious jargon is to be just left aside, is not very valuable, not of much interest. It's used to defend Islam as a religion of peace, if anything, which is part of its great deception. The Muslim world is intending to deceive people here in Chattanooga. The liberal Presbyterian minister at Mercy Junction, people like that. Beth Foster, we have Lana Sutton, we have Chris Brooks, we have others, very liberal, progressive people who are very tolerant. Right? These are people who love tolerance. In fact, they're so tolerant that they a couple of weeks ago threw me off of a very innocuous Facebook website, or webpage, where people discuss local news and opinions and argue back and forth about things. I was the Christian libertarian boy to hit, right, the hitting boy on that website. And finally, they had enough. I posted an essay or a link to an interview with a black Christian woman and her daughter here at the station. And when I posted that with a comment that this interview is helpful to show the difference between Christianity and Islam, this was just too much for these people who threw me off. And I can't even see what's being said there now through my Facebook account. and so these are the people who are very open-minded, and of course they're defenders of Islam. And it's very awkward. It's deliciously awkward for people like that. I mean, for Bill Killian, for example, the federal prosecutor, who also 2 years ago made many widely publicized noises about chasing after critics of Islam and trying to impose, as it were, a prior restraint upon the free press and the free communications of people, Tennessee people such as you, my listener. Progressivism is not about tolerance at all. It's really not about debate. The people who are progressive, who are statist oriented, they really can't do much in debate. And though I've invited Chattanooga's United for Action Verbs on my show several times and reached out to people who are likely to to not agree with you, my listener. And I just can't get them to come on. I'm a very gracious host. What I'll do if any one of those folks come on is just to let them talk. I mean, I want them to hear what they have to say in their context. I want them to make their best argument, and for you to believe it. Right? I want you to believe what they have to say, sympathize with what they have to say, and then ruminate over it. Ruminate like the cow eats his grass 3 or 4 times from the various stomachs that he has, and his rumen is the regurgitated food. I want you to hear these fine biodegradable arguments and ruminate over them. But I'm only so good as a host. I can only get so many people to come on my show, but I have been very open-minded. I'd like to think that I'm open-minded and really gracious to people of a different opinion than my own. Sheriff Hammond says that Abdulaziz's conversion, he carried out heinous crimes. He was raised a Muslim. He was always seen, as has been reported, where he attended high school. He would turn his back whenever the pledge of American flag was being said. Well, that's no sin. Even though he was well educated and had fine opportunities for his future, he had run up a lot of debts. He decided he was in trouble. He had committed too many sins against Islam, and the only way you can absolve your ways under the practice of Islam is to do something that will allow Allah to let you into paradise. If you want a sure way to get into paradise, Sheriff Hammond says, through the Islamic faith, is to commit jihad. If you take out infidels and kill in the name of Allah, you can be guaranteed paradise. That's exactly what this young man was determined to do. And one of the best ways to do this is to go out to 2 of the main enemies of Islam, the military and the police. An infidel is anybody who is not a Muslim. That is exactly what this young man did. Now, we heard at first that it might be terrorism, it might be workplace violence, it might be mental health issues, it might be criminal activity, and it might be suicide. I can tell you as your sheriff, he says, that his was Islamic terrorism. And do you think he was given orders to do this? He asks. No, I don't think so. I don't even know if the FBI will ever know. I do know all you have to do is look into the book of his faith, the 3 books I mentioned. Plenty of evidence is there to support this. He would be guaranteed a trip to paradise if he would simply take this action. And he did. He had predetermined his targets. He went straight to his targets. He knew that they would not survive, that he would not survive in all likelihood. His greatest hope was to take out more innocent people in the process. Unfortunately, 5 lost their lives. But fortunately, he didn't get to do what he wanted to do. What do we do about this as a nation? He says, I am very troubled by when I see what is going on, not only in our community, but also in the United States. And Islam wins by numbers. Does Christianity win by numbers? Yes, it does. But we have in Christianity a great weakness. And one of those weaknesses is it's called premillennial dispensationalism, which is a kind of privatization, a negativization of Christianity. Christianity is not in that scheme, in that part of Christianity, optimistic. It's not can-do. It doesn't really care about the world at large. It doesn't care about God's law. It's very, as I say, antinomian. It's against the law of God. And because it's against the law of God, it really doesn't give, you might say, academic, intellectual, spiritual fortitude. It doesn't give a sense of how Christianity is to counter it. Christianity wins by showing is relevant to every topic. Every topic that you can think of is in the purview of the gospel. The gospel is right about everything on which it teaches, and it teaches about everything. There's nothing that's overlooked there, at least by implication. And many things are taught directly, such as honesty and weights and measures, meaning no inflation, right? You can't have inflation in a godly economy. And truth and weights and measures, which means honesty in contracts. That you can't do things to your favor that are illicit. You can't dilute your goods to get more money for in the trade. You have to be honest and straightforward. There are all kinds of things that are practical in Christianity. But many Christians are, for them, Christianity is just their private pious relationship with God and their private pious relationship with their family members and maybe their boss at work, and that's it. And the job of Christianity is to get more Christians. That's the sole purpose of Christianity, is to find people to save before the rapture. And that's a very short-term perspective. No one ever builds anything lasting in that part of Christianity, because the end is near, right? Christ is coming back to save his people, and there's nothing worth building because, well, the ship is going down, and there's no point in polishing the brass of the railings if we're all going to be underwater in a year or two. Well, this is David Tulis, and Sheriff Hammond is the leading man of Hamilton County. He is the most important person in this county, more important than the county mayor, more important than the city mayor. He is a man of great importance. His office, not the man so much, but the office. And we have to hope that the man who fills it is equal to the charge that he has, which is to defend the people, the rights and liberties of everyone in this county. That would be you too, you, my listener. Well, this is David Tulis, and I sure appreciate you giving me a couple of minutes of your time. I'll see you tomorrow here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Expect mostly cloudy and warm weather for your Monday. A few showers possible out there. Highs near 80. Tonight, a few more scattered showers. Lows mid and upper 60s. A wet day for Tuesday with areas of rain. Highs staying into the 70s. A lingering shower possible through Wednesday as well. Just because summer is coming to a close doesn't mean your vacation has to end. Get a special retail gift card when you book on a Monday. Visit Hojo.com to find out how. That's Hojo.com, and happy Monday. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ford.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hey, all you gun enthusiasts! Carter Shooting Supply has just bought a crazy load of guns and is having a crazy huge sale event going on now. A huge inventory of Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, and Taurus, all on sale. Taurus guns have a mail-in rebate for $25 to $50. All long guns and all ammo on sale too, just in time for hunting season. Come in and take advantage of this crazy huge sale event going on now at Carter Shooting Supply, or shop from home by going to cartershootingsupply.com. Highway 58, Harrison. Check our prices before you buy.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
We do the best quality work. We have the best customer service, the most competitive prices around.
Cell Surgeon, a painless operation to fix your sick device.
Well, if you have a cheap charger or something that's not really designed for your phone, it can mess with your battery. It can actually fry your phone. So you need to make sure you have a quality product that's going to be designed for your phone.
Cell Surgeon, your smartphone doctor's in the house at the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
You charge it in the morning, and by noon it's at 50% under normal use. That means your battery's pretty much dead, and once you've reached that point, it starts to deteriorate.
Cell Surgeon, call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com.
We do free estimates. If your phone's not working properly, bring it in. We're more happy to take a look at it and diagnose it and see what we think is wrong with it at no charge. Most phone repairs can be done in 30 minutes or less.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
Don't take it in the bathroom. Don't ever put it in your back pocket. And don't charge your phone while you're sleeping.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. That's